All right, y'all. Before we start today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to me. As y'all know, I work in education, and last year was my first year as a teacher. I loved the kids, I still love the kids, and they were a huge part of why I started this podcast. About a week ago, one of my students was unfortunately shot wrongfully while walking in the street. He's currently in the hospital, but it's going to be a long journey for him. His family is requesting assistance through a GoFundMe page that I've been promoting on my social media platform. I've waited to put it on the podcast because I wanted to talk to the family first before putting it out there. If it's something that you're able to do, if you can share the GoFundMe, donate to the GoFundMe in any way, shape, or form, it would be greatly appreciated. I do not make any money off that GoFundMe. I did not start it. His parents started it to support him and to alleviate the cost of the medical bills that are to come. If you can share that on your social media platforms, share with people that you work with, share with anybody that you know, it would be greatly appreciated. Nobody, no student, no kid, no family, nobody should have to go through what this family is currently going through. Gun violence is not okay. Gun violence is not tolerated, and your support is greatly appreciated. I'm going to leave the link for the GoFundMe page in the description box of whatever platform that you're watching this on, and I'm going to link it to my link tree that you can find in the Instagram bio. Any support that you're able to give to this family is greatly appreciated. And again, I just want to reiterate, I do not make any money off of this. I didn't start the GoFundMe page. I am simply trying to do my best to support the student and their family in this time of need. Now, let's go ahead and start with the episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Hood Soft Life podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina, and in this podcast, we talk about navigating the challenges that come with growing up in the hood and leaving those challenges behind for a soft life. Growing up in the hood has its own set of challenges, but what people don't tend to tell you is not only do those challenges follow you once you've made it out physically, but they tend to intensify. So, I'm bringing you along on my journey. I'm going to be honest with you about the struggles and the lessons that I'm learning to achieve a soft life. In this episode, we're going to be talking about shadow work. I've referenced it a lot in some of the episodes. I talked about it here and there, and I've given some examples of what shadow work is, but in this episode we're going to be really diving into what is it, why is it beneficial, and I'm going to go over 3 shadow work prompts that I'm going to answer on the spot, kind of like I did last week. So let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about it. What is shadow work? Shadow work is the work that we do to uncover the parts of ourselves or the thoughts that we have that we reject or hide from ourselves or others. Sometimes these experiences can be trauma related, but they don't have to be. So long story short, essentially what shadow work is it doesn't always have to be journal prompts. It can be something else, but I push it out as journal prompts. So I'm just going to refer to it that way. But essentially what it is these journal prompts that allow you to really sit with yourself and your emotions and address some things that you might be hiding, whether you know it or not, some memories you might be repressing, so on and so forth. Just getting through the barrier of things that you don't show other people and seeing how those things manifest in your life, how to control how you move about your life, the types of relationships you have, so on and so forth. So I did a little bit of research on what shadow work is and how it works and stuff like that. And so I found that you have a total of 8 archetypes within yourself, and the 2 most common are the self and the shadow, which I'll define. So you have the self, which is the center of your personality or your psyche. This is your conscious awareness. Then you have the shadow, which is the dark and emotional aspect of your psyche, usually the subconscious, which you're not conscious of. Then you have the anima, which is an image of the idolized person that draws people into their feminine side. Then you have the animus, a part of you that has the capability or the capacity for reflection and self-knowledge. You have your persona, which is the mask that you wear to show the world while you protect your inner self. You have the hero, which is a part of your psyche that can overcome evil and destruction. You have what's called the old wise man, which is a personification of the self that contains your wisdom. And then you have what's called the trickster, which is a childish part of your psyche that needs gratification. So those are the 8 types of archetypes that you have in your personality or in yourself altogether. But the 2 that I'm going to be focusing on are the self and the shadow. Why is shadow work beneficial? So it's beneficial for a couple of reasons. What I like about shadow work is that it's really not rocket science to explain, but it is something that is challenging to go through when you're starting it. But the reason that it's beneficial is because it helps you address any understanding of traumas that you don't have or that you may not have acknowledged. It helps you address any limiting beliefs that you've had so that you can go ahead and correct those and live a better life. And it allows you to understand what traumas are affecting your life still and how you can fix those and move about the life in the way that you want to. Essentially, it just helps create a better and healthier mental state for you so that you can live a happy and more successful life. I don't even remember how I started doing shadow work. I'm not gonna lie. I have been journaling for a very long time. That was definitely my outlet. As a kid, I felt like I couldn't really talk about my feelings. I couldn't really share them with family members. I didn't really feel like I could trust the friends that I had at the time. And so when you feel like you can't talk to your family, you feel like you can't talk to your friends, especially at a young age, like middle school, early high school, you feel very lonely, and it's very hard to figure out, like, am I bugging about this situation or am I valid, And you start to stuff those emotions down, especially the hard ones, because you don't want to have to deal with them. And so my outlet was always writing. And the thing about shadow work is that it doesn't have to just be like writing stories or answering questions. You can be creative with it in a way that allows you to address that trauma. Maybe you are an artist and you paint, or maybe you sing, or you make beats, or you dance, or something else. Any way that you're able to express those feelings is a good way to attack the shadow work itself. And so my biggest thing is I like to write. That's very therapeutic for me. That's always been my outlet, whether it's just straight up answering the questions, writing short stories about my experiences, poems, I'll do that. And I've been doing that probably since like middle school, but not necessarily because I knew what it was. It was more so just like, this is what I need to talk about today. These are the feelings that I need to address today. And so when I started understanding what shadow work was as I got older and why it's important for me, I tried to implement it more into my routine, but I will say that it is very hard, and sometimes I be dodging that shit. Like, I'm just be straight up. I just be dodging it because like there are some things that I don't feel like addressing today. I don't feel like talking about today. I don't feel like digging up past memories and past traumas. I don't feel like talking about that stuff right now. I don't have the capacity for it. And so I'll dust it off and I'll ignore it. And what I find is that when I'm not on that routine of like reading my Bible or journaling, at the very least, if I'm not on that routine, I start to like have a downward trajectory, and I start feeling not like myself, and I start feeling down, and so on and so forth, kind of like how I mentioned in the beginning of this episode. And so I was starting to feel that way again, and so I picked up my journal, and I was just like, I know full and well I've been dodging this journal because I know I have so many things that are going on. I know I'm so stressed about X, Y, and Z, and I'm not ready to just address it all at once. And so it ended up happening anyways, because I was at a point where I just like, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel healthy. This doesn't feel normal for me. And just really being concerned, so much so to the point where I had a physiological response. Like I had that pain in my chest that wouldn't go away, that really had me feeling like I was going to die. I picked up my journal and I started writing, and I will say I did feel better. But the other part of it is like, once I had those thoughts written down, this was something where I was like, I needed to say these things out loud to somebody, because writing it down was definitely the first step, but because I've suppressed it so much, writing it out wasn't enough. I needed to say this shit out loud and just be like, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through, I'm not fucking with X, Y, and Z, and just let it all out. And I'm so grateful to the friends that I have that I was able to call today and just ugly cry on the phone and just say like, this is what I've been going through. I don't like to talk about it because I don't want to seem like a downer or be depressing or whatever the case may be. But I've really just been struggling in silence. And I took the time to, really try and figure out what's going on, what's wrong with me. I just have to say this out loud. And they sat there and they took the time to listen to me. They didn't have the answers, and I wasn't expecting them to have the answers, but it was just nice to know that, one, I did the work on my own before I just started, lashing out on people for no reason. But I did the work on my own, and I had people who wanted to listen and wanted to help me as best as they could. So that's what I would say about shadow work. Is like, it doesn't have to be writing it out on paper. It can literally be making music, making art, making an image. If you want to have a conversation with your friends, do a little paint and sip, make it age appropriate. Whatever is going to help you address those conversations as comfortable for you as possible, do it. Because in all honesty, shadow work is not rocket science, but it's hard. Emotionally and mentally, it is hard because depending on what type of childhood you had and how much trauma you've experienced or maybe even suppressed, when it comes time to address those things, you might not even realize how much you suppressed, and now you're just sitting there like, Jesus, I need to call my therapist on speed dial. And that's kind of how I was feeling yesterday, and even today. I'm like, I can't wait for my therapy session next week because I'm itching to talk to her. But long story short of it all, find the best way to answer these questions and to have this conversation, whether that's with yourself, someone else, if you want to do it creatively, if you want to record your own little like voice note, whatever, and just delete it. If you want to write it down, light it on fire afterwards, do whatever works best for you, in all honesty. Some things I want you to know before we start doing the shadow work is take note of how your body is responding to the memories and the traumas that you may be digging up, right? What is triggering you? And even think about like what triggered you before you even started this. I know I'm somebody who is easily set off. I could lose the remote and have a bigger response than necessary. And that's obviously because I got some stuff that I need to work on. So take note of what are some things that you provide an unnecessary or almost inappropriate response to. What drives you to be angry? What drives you to be sad? And are those appropriate responses for the situation that you have? Everybody's entitled to their feelings. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I think we all know when we're doing a little too much for the situation. No shade, because I've definitely been there, and I did that today. But I think we all have an awareness of like, yeah, I don't even know why I spazzed out like that. Like I literally just lost the remote, and little did I know it was sitting right here on my face. True story. But definitely keep that in mind. I think the other thing is like, if you know you had a traumatic upbringing and you're kind of worried about what you might uncover when you do this, if you do not have a therapist, I would figure out who your point person is in terms of like talking those feelings out with after the fact, and make sure that they're capable and able to receive what you're about to give them, right? Sometimes we're not able to receive somebody ranting or venting to us at that moment in time. So I would think about who your point person is going to be if you don't have a therapist. Make sure that they're capable, willing, open to receiving what you have to say. And I would try to find a backup in case they're not, because you might want to talk about it. And the worst thing that you could do is like, you're ready to talk about it, but your point person is just not able to receive what you have to say right now. And you're kind of just sitting there scrambling with like, I need to talk about this with someone and I don't want to repress it. I don't want to get to a point where it's like, I can either ignore it or deal with it. So that would just be my piece of advice before you start. And I guess the last thing too is like, try to create an environment where you're the most calm. When I do my shadow work, I do it at night before I go to sleep. It's actually very therapeutic, especially because if I cry, I know I'm going to have the best sleep of my life. But I would say find the environment that makes it the most comfortable for you. So I do it at night in my room. I have LED lights in my room too. So I'll create like a nice setting, and then I'll put like some lo-fi music on like in the background really low, and I'll just start writing from there. It helps a lot to know that my atmosphere is also calming, because I know I'm about to put myself in a position where I could be triggered by what I'm digging up. And so highly recommend. Honestly, I would say don't even do it until you know you have an environment that you can be comfortable in and that can calm you, because you don't want to do this in an environment of chaos, or you don't want to do this in an environment where you feel unsafe, or especially if you're writing it down and you're worried that somebody might read it. I would be cautious about that, because if you don't want somebody to come across it, I would figure out how you could either not get them to see it or do it somewhere else. I have a list of shadow work prompts here, so I'm going to read the ones that I have. I have 6 shadow work prompts, so I'm going to read them, and then I'm going to pick my top 3 that I want to answer. I didn't prepare for them ahead of time because, I don't know, I just want to keep it a little spicy, I guess. And so the first one is, what does happiness mean to me? Second one is, what was your biggest fear growing up? What were you most insecure about growing up? What has hurt you the most from your past? What do you wish you had now to heal from that pain? How do you respond when somebody expresses support? Do you reject or accept it? What does your response say about who you are? What things do you notice that trigger your body to tense up? So the first one I want to answer is, what was your biggest fear growing up? Honestly, growing up, my biggest fear was becoming a parent. And I always knew that I didn't want to be a biological parent because, one, that just sounds so painful, but also as somebody whose parents are not around, I always worried that if I was put in a position where I would become a mother, am I going to be a good parent because my parents are not around? And my guardian, my caretaker, did the best that they could with the tools that they had, and I know that they had their own things going on. Now that I'm older, I can understand that they were definitely struggling with mental health issues. I really don't know anything about my caretaker, and so as I start to learn more and more about their upbringing and their past and the traumas that they've been through, I can completely understand why they showed up the way that they did as a parent for me. And so I don't have any animosity towards that, and I think that makes it easier for us to have a relationship now that I'm understanding. But my biggest fear as a child was always like, am I gonna be a bad mom? Am I gonna be a bad parent? Because I don't even know what a good parent looks like. I have an idea of what I wish I had. I have an idea of what I think is what a good parent is, but how do I even really know that that's what a good parent is? How do I know that, obviously now that I'm older, I can put better words to it. How do I know I'm not being an enabler? How do I know that if I do this, that it won't harm them, or whatever the case may be? And that really drove me insane, for lack of a better word, right? It really bothered me because I was so adamant about, I don't want to be a biological parent. And for a while it was like, I don't want to be a parent at all. I don't even like kids. And I was young, so obviously it's not like I was out here doing stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. But also it's just like, I was already thinking ahead because I had to grow up so quickly. And I was just like, I don't want to be a biological parent. My biggest fear is becoming a parent of any kind, because how do I know that I'm not going to put that child in harm unintentionally? How do I know that I'm not going to pass on a trauma unintentionally? Like my caretaker, and so I don't want to do that to a child either. And so that was my biggest fear growing up, and it still is a fear of mine. Not so much so because I had the opportunity to work with kids, and I still do at the moment. I love kids. I love working with kids, and I love being there for them, trying to support them as much as I possibly can. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that I would be a good parent. I think I more so need to learn how to quiet those negative thoughts and those negative voices of like, you could be a bad parent because you don't even know what a parent looks like. But in all honesty, like, I think I'm more so like, I know I don't want to be a biological parent. That's not for me. Pregnancy sounds terrible. Nothing about it is giving, oh, so cute, so sweet. No, I don't want to do it. But that was my biggest fear growing up. Okay. The next one I want to answer is, what were you most insecure about growing up? Honestly, it was hard to pick one. I think I had like two tied, so I'm just going to say them both. My top tier one was my hair. I was very insecure about my hair. And then the second one was my weight and just my physique in general. And these things sound superficial, but really they were very much rooted in something else. And so like my hair, for example, being the only darker person in a family of like lighter skinned Puerto Ricans, I don't have hair like them. I don't look anything like them. I don't even pass for Puerto Rican, and I get that. But the comments that I got about my hair, or just even like the inability to do my hair after I got to a certain age, was very challenging because it made me feel like my hair was only beautiful if it was straight, and they were pretty much endorsing that. Like, you need to straighten your hair. You need to straighten your hair. That's the only way that your hair is going to look good. I don't know how to do your hair. Other than that, you have so much hair and da-da-da. My grandma used to always make a comment about like my hair being like right here in the middle whenever I used to have a bun. And I'm like, well, yeah, I have a lot of hair. And I was just like, I don't understand how that's bad. But there was so much negative reinforcement from my family of like, you need to straighten it. You need to straighten it. And again, I don't think that the intention was to hurt my feelings or to make me feel like my hair is not beautiful and like just my blackness in general, because that's what it was tied to. Like, yes, the comments were about my hair, but they were also comments rooted in the fact that I don't look anything like them. And so I was very insecure about that growing up. It made me feel like I was never enough for either identity. I was never enough to be Puerto Rican. I was never enough to be black. Like if you look at me, obviously you make the assumption that I'm black, but I grew up in a Puerto Rican household where it's like I don't know some of the things that my friends know that they grew up with and stuff like that. And so it made me feel like I was kind of like stuck in the middle. Like there was really no place that I could go. And my hair was definitely another reason to that, because it was just like a lot of black people would be like, you have quote unquote good hair. I don't believe in that. And then the Puerto Ricans would be like, your hair is bad. And it's just like, well, what is it? And I just want to know how to take care of it, because I'm going to just speak for myself. Not knowing how to do my hair at that age, like I'm in middle school, I'm soaking up everything. I'm a sponge. I'm learning so much. And so I'm hearing all these comments and I'm really believing that my hair is not good. My hair is ugly, whatever. That was the negative reinforcement. And so then that makes me feel like if my hair is ugly, and I know that they're saying my hair is ugly because it's different from them, because I'm also black, does that mean that my blackness is also ugly? Does that mean that I'm not going to be accepted for who I am because of my skin tone? Is my skin tone ugly? I was very insecure about my hair. And then on the other side, I was insecure about my physique, because I was somebody who matured very quickly for their age, and I've always been tall. I've always been taller than the girls my age. I've always been a little bit thicker than the girls my age, and so it made me feel insecure, because it's almost like I don't even look like the peers my age. And even to this day, if people guess my age, they don't guess right. They guess way older. Like, chill out. But I was definitely insecure about my physique, because it's just like, again, same thing with the comments of like, oh, you're not skinny enough and da 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 da. And nowadays everybody want to be thick, so it's just like pick a side. Pick a side. But I was definitely insecure about those two things, and I'm not gonna lie, those insecurities are still moving with me. Like, I know how to take care of my hair now. I do think that my hair is beautiful, but sometimes I find that it's harder for me to wear my hair out still. Or when I get my hair straightened, which I do like once, maybe twice a year max, because I don't want to damage my curls. I find that I feel more confident and more beautiful with my straight hair. And then I feel guilty about that, because it's just like, I feel like that conditioning of like my hair was ugly and my blackness was ugly really stuck with me. And then I feel guilty for kind of believing in that. But one of my friends was like, it might not even have anything to do with the fact that it's because your hair is straight. Everybody feels good when their hair is done, period. And she's not lying, because if I got me some braids, I would still be feeling myself just as much. But sometimes I do feel guilty about that. And then with my physique, it's just like, I find that I wear a lot of clothes often that try to hide what I look like, because I'm not comfortable. I'm not 100% comfortable with my body. I'm not 100% comfortable with people seeing my physique and whatever. And so I wear clothes sometimes that really just hide a lot, because I'm uncomfortable with my body and I don't want people to assume that I'm interested in being sexualized because I wear this or I wear that. But I also have the comprehension to understand that it doesn't matter what I wear at the end of the day. Like, that's a boundary for me. If somebody comes across and tries to sexualize me thinking that that's a compliment, I'm ready to cuss them out. Ready to cuss them out. All right. I'm about to try to speed this up, y'all, because I am not joking. It's 1:50 a.m. I'm tired. But the last one I'm going to answer is, how do you respond when somebody expresses support? Do you reject or accept it? What does your response say about who you are? I can flat out say, anytime somebody supports me, I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. It feels weird. I don't know how to respond to it. It's not even just like, I feel like I even look weird. Like my response, my physiological response is just like, ugh, almost like I don't even know how to give an answer, but it's just like, I'm not used to, I was going to say positive reinforcement, but I don't feel like that's the right word. But essentially, I'm not used to people being supportive. Like even when I get compliments about the podcast, or when I get comments about how it's so helpful to them and how I need to keep going and how it's so great, I accept them. I do, because I don't want to disrespect anybody, and I really do appreciate the comments. But I think it's hard for me to register those comments are for you and your work, and they like what you're doing, and then I'm just kind of sitting there like, ew, I'm uncomfortable, like, oh, thanks. Like, in all seriousness, that's just how I feel. I'm not good with it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I didn't come from a home where it's like, we celebrate your wins or whatever the case may be. We don't celebrate your good doing. We don't show affection, and we just don't celebrate positivity much in the household that I grew up in. And so when people support me or tell me that I'm doing a good job with things, it's very hard to accept. I'm also somebody who is very very hard on themselves. I feel like everybody's hard on themselves, but for me, like speaking from my own personal experiences, I am very hard on myself. And it's not to say that I don't know that I do a good job when it comes to things, but it's more so just like believing it from others is very challenging for me. I don't know what that response says about me. I think it just says that I'm insecure about myself. I'm not confident in myself enough, I guess. And I think that it shows me that I have something that I need to work on. I need to work on being more comfortable with myself, more confident in my skills and what I do, because at the end of the day, I do good work. And I'm not just talking about the podcast, just in general. Like, I know that I'm a good person, but it's very uncomfortable to get support. And just tying that into affection really quickly. I know one of my friends is going to laugh when she hears this, but I hate affection. I don't do well with it. I find it very uncomfortable. I find that I can only give affection to my students. I will not take a hug from a friend or whatever, but if a kid needs a hug, I'll give them a hug. I'll call it a day and I'll keep it moving, and I don't feel like ugh. But I don't know what it is about that. I feel like I can be nurturing and affectionate and supportive to young children, because I feel like that's something that I wish that I had. But getting support and affection as an adult from other adults is weird. It's weird to register. It's not that I don't appreciate it, but I think sometimes it's more so just like, ew, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not used to it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. But yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see I got my little candle lit. I always have my LED light on, but I created the atmosphere for myself to be able to answer those questions comfortably and feel calm. And I chose not to answer the most triggering questions because I will cry, and I'm not trying to do that on camera. But that's pretty much what I have for showing you how to do the shadow work and how it works for yourself, and just really making sure that you set up the atmosphere that will keep you the calmest, because not every question is going to be that easy. Not every question is going to have a quick response or a quick answer, and every question doesn't always guarantee no tears. You will have some questions that will make you be like, damn, I can't believe this. And so I definitely had that last night, and it's worth it. Once you let that good cry out, you get that post-cry glow, you get that good sleep, at least for me. I hope that that's the case for y'all too, because what good is crying if you're not going to get some good sleep and a post-cry glow out of it? Alrighty, so I have a little announcement. I have been working on a shadow work journal, and it's going to release the same day that this podcast episode comes out. So it'll be out now on the platform called Gumroad. I'll leave the link in the description box for wherever you're watching this at. You'll be able to download the PDF. The PDF will be free. I just want to put it out there to see if it's helpful to people, learn more about the platform that I'm putting it on. So if you want to learn more about shadow work, if you want some more shadow work prompts, that will be in the description box. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put some clips up in this side on what it'll look like. Not too much though. Shadow work prompts, there's some affirmations in there. There's some letters from me for different people who are listeners. I know not everybody who listens from the hood. I know not everybody who listens is a person of color, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Everybody's welcome here. If you want to learn, if you want to hear about my story, and if you want to share your own story, whether that's in DMs or whatever, I'm here for all of that. So I made sure that I made the journal as not generalized, but as accessible to everybody as possible. And I don't want any people to feel like it's very feminine. It's not. I feel like everybody has mental health. Everybody has a shadow that they have to work on. And so please don't look at it and feel like, oh, this is only for women. It's not. Anybody can do any of the prompts that are on there, any of the activities that are on there. Take a look at it. See if you like it. It's free. If you don't like it, hey, no sweat off your back, no sweat off mine. I had fun making it. So definitely check it out and let me know what your thoughts are. Please send me a DM at the HSL pod if you download it, and if you find that you like it, you don't like it, this is working, this is not working, give me the feedback. I need it all, because I do plan on making some more of them in the future. So I just want to make sure that it's smooth sailing as possible. When you go on there, you'll see two versions. You're going to see a white one and a black one, just because I don't know how you're going to use it. I don't know if you're going to print it out. And if you print it out, you don't want to print it out with the black background. Obviously, the black background was more so for aesthetic pleasure for me, if you will. I didn't like the background being white. I felt like it didn't pop as much with the colors that I chose. And then there's the white background if you decide to print it out and you want to write your answers by hand, or if you want to check off some of the things by hand. So I made it in white as well. Doesn't matter which one you download. Doesn't matter if you download both. It's free reign. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm really excited to hear what you think about it. And I'm just excited to put it out. My birthday will be the day before this comes out. And so I really just wanted to do something special and a little bit different. Try to give back in the way that I can to people who listen to the podcast. So go ahead and check that out. All right, y'all. We're at that point where we've reached the affirmation for the week. And I've kept it short and sweet because I'm ready to go to sleep. Bars. It's literally about to be 2 a.m. So the affirmation for this week is healing is possible for me. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that 3 times. If you're able to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you want to write this down, however you want to speak this positivity on your life, find a way to do it. So healing is possible for me. Healing is possible for me. Healing is possible for me. All right, y'all. That's all that I got for today. Let me know what your thoughts are on shadow work. If you end up trying out any of the prompts that I listed in this episode or in the shadow work journal that you'll download, let me know what your thoughts are about it. I get that shadow work is not easy to do. It's not easy to digest. So if you're not comfortable sharing your response publicly, whether that's on a comment or a review, that's perfectly okay. Send me a DM. I am open to reading the DMs. I like talking to people who interact with the podcast, whether that's on like DMs, YouTube comments. Some people message me on LinkedIn because I promote it on there as well. However you want to interact with me, I'm happy to do that. TikTok is probably the one platform that I check the least, just because if I get on here, I'm never getting off. But you can go ahead and follow the Hood Soft Life podcast at the HSL Pod on Instagram. The TikTok is at SLIZET_21. And then we are officially on all streaming platforms. That includes YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, all at the Hood Soft Life podcast. But until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye.